Here today with Paul Isley of Rainforest Flora in Torrance, California. We're going to talk about some blooming Tillandsias. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, Barry. Good morning, everybody. Here we are again at Rainforest Flora, and today we're going to talk about a few blooming Tillandsias. It's a really nice one that we're going to start out with. It's called Tillandsia Ready. It is a hybrid of Tillandsia concolor and Tillandsia streptophila. We've had it for a number of years, and this is a larger one, and it's one of them is blooming, and you can see how colorful it is. The shape varies quite a bit with Ready. It can lean a lot more towards streptophila and have kind of curly leaves, or it can have straighter leaves more like Tillandsia concolor. But it's one of the prettiest Tillandsias by far. So that's that guy. And here's another one that's really nice. We have this one hanging in our retail area, so it says, "Smell my flowers." And this is Tillandsia crocata. It's probably the most fragrant Tillandsia for the size of the plant, and the flowers are so sweet and so beautiful. They also have this tremendous fragrance. So this is a really great plant. It's a clump that's been growing for a few years, and you can see it also has a little bit of Spanish moss on it. It has a looks like a Tillandsia juncifolia that's hitchhiking, a Tillandsia aranthos. So it's actually a clump of several different species, but the main predominant plant is Tillandsia crocata with its wonderfully fragrant flowers.
And Paul, you have another variety called Copper Penny, is that right?
There's another variety called Copper Penny. The standard flowers are very bright yellow.
Beautiful.
It comes from the crocata. It's from Croceus, which has yellow flowers, and "ata" is a suffix that means similar to. So when this was named, it was named for the yellow color of the flowers similar to Croceus. There's another form, Copper Penny, like Barry said, that has a more orange flower, also very fragrant, and that one can grow even bigger than the yellow form. So we have those two forms, and then there's other forms, you know, but then it gets complicated, so we'll deal with that another time. But anyway, Tillandsia crocata. And this is Tillandsia fanfare, vernicosa bistricta. And you can see this has a very brightly colored inflorescence on it. The two parents have white and blue flowers, and so this is a combination. It's a rather pale blue color. And I call it fanfare because you can see the shape of the leaves is a lot like a fan, and they'll kind of curve towards one side, which is pretty cool.
Beautiful.
So,
and it's sort of iridescent red, huh?
Yes, it's like an iridescent red. And this is a standby, Tillandsia ionantha. This is a rubra form. We just have a few of them that are blooming now, but there are many forms of Tillandsia ionantha. You can see a lot of them on our website. There's small ones, big ones, thick leaves, thin leaves. There's all different kinds.
And Paul, these are very easy to take care of, the ionanthas, right? It's a good beginner plant?
Yeah, the ionanthas are a good beginner plant. Most of them all are actually pretty good beginner plants. There's just a few rules for growing them indoors or outdoors, and it depends on where you live. But if they're indoors, what I do with mine is I have a little container of bottled drinking water or filtered tap water or rainwater, and I'll have a cottage cheese container or a ice cream container with a plastic lid so that water doesn't evaporate. And once a week I'll take the plant, dunk it, take it out, turn it upside down, and put it back. And if you live in an air conditioning environment, a hot, dry environment, then maybe a couple of times a week or 3 times a week, or have water around the plant. But in most conditions, once a week seems to be fine, and they'll grow and they'll flower and they'll just keep going.
And the brightest possible light without direct sun?
Yeah, just bright light. They love that because the white fuzz on the leaves reflects up to 70% of the light that hits the plant. So if you do that, then it should be pretty easy for almost all of these. And another one.
Wow!
This is Tillandsia Buck Compton. And this is the first one that we've ever had flower. It just grows coalescently along a stem. Coalescent in botanical terms means it grows on a stem. And so this one has grown for a number of years along the stem. You can see how the leaves recurve, and it's finally coming into flower, which is really cool. And Buck Compton is a hybrid of Ionantha and fasciculata. And you can see the truncated inflorescence here. That's the influence of Tillandsia ionantha, because ionantha does not have an inflorescence that's dominant. So anything that's crossed with ionantha will not have a big inflorescence. So this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous hybrid. Here we have a wonderful clump of Tillandsia funkiana, and it's blooming right now, as you can see. It has beautiful colored, coral-colored flowers. And this is probably the most famous clump we have in the nursery. It is hanging over the pond down there, and it's about 4 or 5 feet tall and 3 feet across. It's about 48 years old.
Wow.
We've had it for about 8 or 10 years. And then Herb Hill had it before that, and then someone else had started it before that. And it's a special form of funkiana, so we call it Herb Hill after the great Varesia hybridizer who lives in Florida. So this is Tillandsia funkiana. And
to me.
Here we have Tillandsia Jalisco monticola. This is a species from Mexico, from the state of Jalisco. Imagine that. And the inflorescence is just starting to come out. It will get taller, and it will get a lot of sort of orange-red color to it, and yellow. The flowers are large, and they're the standard subgenus Tillandsia, sort of blue-purple color. But it's an easy one to grow. It gets large, and it's just not common in cultivation because this could easily be 20 years old to get to this size. So.
And it's a very thick spike, right? A thick
Yeah,
inflorescence.
and that's in botanical terms. It's called inflated. You can see looking at it sideways like this that it's very fat. And if you squeeze, though, there's a lot of liquid that comes out. It's not just pure water. It's kind of sticky, too.
Wow.
And that's Tillandsia Jalisco monticola, which when crossed with another species called Tillandsia rollingasalini, gives you the hybrid of Tillandsia rothii.
Natural hybrid, right?
It's a natural hybrid, yes, and a great plant. They're all wonderful plants. So there's Jalisco monticola.
I knew Jack Roth. He was a great guy.
Yeah. Jack was lived up in Hollywood, and I knew him for a number of years back in the 70s. And he found that plant down in Mexico, and he sent it in to be identified, and lo and behold, it was a new species, and so they named it after Jack. This is an interesting plant. This is a hybrid of Tillandsia cacticola and Tillandsia straminia.
Wow.
And you can see that the plant looks a lot like a cacticola, but it has more leaves and it gets larger, and you can see the inflorescence. The floral bracts, the purple floral bracts, are not overlapping. They are separated from each other, which is an indication of Tillandsia straminia. Tillandsia cacticola, the floral bracts overlap each other. That's called imbricate, and so they form like a paddle, a flat paddle.
That's right.
Whereas in straminia, each floral bract is separated. That's called an internode space between each floral bract. And then the flowers are not fragrant. Cacticola does not have fragrant flowers. Straminia does. And so generally when you have a hybrid with one parent that's fragrant blooming and the other one is not, unfortunately the fragrance does not transfer. And that's the case with this one. And we just have a couple plants of it. We thought you'd like to see it.
Beautiful.
So, and then we'll wind it up with this basketball-sized clump of Tillandsia ionantha.
Wow.
Our guys down in San Diego a couple of years ago had a wire round circle thing they covered with some netting, and they glued a few of the Mexican form of ionantha onto this. And then over the last 2 years, they've multiplied and grown. The Mexican ionantha tends to offset a lot, so you start getting clumps pretty quickly. And now it's pretty dense. And give it another couple of years, it'll be perfectly round. It's
And that's
spherical.
what, maybe 16 inches?
Yeah, I'd say about 16
Couple
inches in
hundred
diameter.
plants? That's just
So-
amazing.
You know, having a living mobile like this hanging in your patio, and the cool thing too is that it's hollow inside, so the chances of any of the plants rotting are pretty slim. When you grow a clump this large from a single Tillandsia over a number of years, if it starts getting wet on the inside, especially if you live in a humid environment, it can rot from the inside out and the whole thing will just come apart. So when you have something like this and you glue a bunch on there, it's always going to stay hollow in there. And if you use netting, there's always going to be air getting in there. So that's pretty cool. Just wanted to show you that. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Paul.